friends, welcome back to the Dargz channel. This is not the video that I was expecting to make today, but here we are. I guess this is something that we do need to address. Today, folks, we are going to be pouring one out for good old Matthew Patrick, aka MatPat, aka Game Frickin' Theory. Oh man, where do I even start with this? This is one of the most pulverizing announcements to come from 2024 so far. Out of all the things on my bingo card, MatPat retiring was not one of them. And for this to be announced absolutely shook me and possibly all of you guys as well. You probably know the base of this topic already, but if you don't, I'll give a little rundown before we get into more of the things I want to talk about regarding this. So if you're unaware, yesterday MatPat released a video in which he announced that he would be quitting game theory after 10 more theories that he has in his backlog. It's a really emotional video. He's been doing this for so long, literally as long as I can remember. So this video was probably just as hard for him to make as it was for a lot of us to watch. He goes over the big reasons as to why he's doing this, mainly just because he wants to spend more time with his family, which is completely reasonable. That's definitely the best reason as to why he'd make an announcement like this. And he certainly would just have the ability to completely retire at this point and just have a very comfortable life with his family. Do I think he's going to do that? Probably not. I definitely see MatPat as someone who's going to come out of his retirement quite often. It's not going to be something I'm going to be banking on anytime this year or maybe even the year after, but I don't see him just completely disappearing off the face of the internet anytime soon. Because game theory is supposedly not even scheduled to end as of right now. Now, this is something that I really wanted to talk about because even though game theory is going to be getting a new host allegedly, I don't think the channel is going to last that much longer if that is the case. So it is a bit of a different case with MatPat in particular, since game theory is kind of a brand outside of MatPat technically. So let's take another YouTuber. Let's take like Markiplier for an example. Markiplier is his entire brand. You can't replace Markiplier with somebody because he is the entire face of Markiplier. While game theory, although starting off just as MatPat and Stephanie technically, it grew to be a brand of itself. And MatPat was more or less the mascot of this brand. Despite this, a lot of people do just see MatPat as game theory. He is game theory. And even though there are different shows hosted by different people on game theory, they don't do nearly as well as MatPat videos. So whoever's going to be blessed with the torch being passed to them, I don't think is going to be able to hold the same retention that MatPat did. This isn't like Doctor Who or James Bond, where it's like an anthology season where the main character gets replaced every single season. This is the face of game theory fundamentally being replaced if this is the case. Now, this doesn't mean I think MatPat should just continue doing something if he doesn't want to do it. I think he should retire if he wants to. But I think game theory as we know it isn't going to stick around for much longer once he does depart. And you know, if that's the case, at the very least, it's most likely going to go out gracefully. I love MatPat. I think he's one of the best creators on this platform. I really adore a lot of the things that he did before he retired. And seeing the overwhelming support he's been getting despite the controversies that he's gotten in the past is really, really nice to see. So although the future of game theory is uncertain, it's not going to be forgotten anytime soon, and I think we can all at least take solace in that. MatPat is someone who I can say is a legend in YouTube lore, and I don't think many people would debate that. As he said in his video, he was able to corner and become the top channel of 4 different niches for 4 different audiences, and I think the reason why it was so successful is because it was MatPat. He is an absolutely irreplaceable figure, and I don't think anyone would be able to live up to what he's been able to achieve. And although I don't really watch much modern game theory outside of the occasional FNAF theory, just because I'm still involved in that community partially, his absence is going to be something that is definitely going to be felt in the online space. It's just like a comforting feeling knowing that some of these people, even if you don't watch them anymore, are still going in the background. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone watching this probably likes SpongeBob to an extent, but doesn't watch SpongeBob regularly anymore. But if you got the news that SpongeBob was ending tomorrow, then I think that you're going to be very upset about it and very sad. Even if you don't watch the show anymore, and even if you do, it's probably a lot older episodes. It's just something like that, just something in the pop culture zeitgeist just ending is something that's very, very scary. It reminds you that everything isn't forever, and unfortunately, these things are going to go away at some point. Of course, that's just the way of life, but that still doesn't mean that's not sad. One day, I'm going to stop uploading on not just this channel, because I just started this isn't going anywhere for a long time, but my main channel, I'm going to stop uploading on that one day, and I don't want it to be anytime soon, but it is going to happen. Nobody's immortal, nothing's forever, everything is finite, so eventually everything will end, and stuff like this is kind of a reminder of that, as stupid as that does sound. I'm getting deeply philosophical over the guy that said Music Man in a funny voice like a year ago. This is what you get on the Dargz Slop channel. This is what you came here for. Another thing I did want to talk about is just my personal connection to MatPat before he does depart, because I have had a long history with his channel. A history that I was blessed to be briefly involved in at around the time of last year. Not a lot of people know this, but I'm actually in a MatPat video. Albeit, I didn't know I was going to be in a MatPat video, but I was there regardless. One of my biggest claim to fames was making a video about mascot horror before mascot horror was really even a term. It was around when Poppy Playtime was really new, so it was around that time where that conversation topic started to really pick up steam. And in that game theory episode, MatPat actually sourced that video that I made in it. He name drops me and then plays one of my clips. I still remember everything that happened on this day like it was yesterday. This was genuinely one of the highlights of my entire life. I know that sounds stupid and I don't want to come off as parasocial or anything, but when you've been watching someone since you were 8 years old and they mention you by name and acknowledge your existence, I think that is something to celebrate. I don't know, maybe I'm a bit weird for that, but you could let me know what you think. I'll play the clip right here as well in case anyone wants to see the context of what I'm talking about, so I'll play that very briefly.
Yeah, there's also been videos from creators like Dargz and Sagan Hawks that explore the evolution of indie horror and our specific role in that.
If you're lucky enough, you may get the blessing of the gods that is a game theory video on your story.
Yeah, he even pinned my comment on that video, which I also thought was incredibly sweet. I am really happy to have been involved in game theory history before this chapter of MatPat's life has ended. MatPat was one of the first people I watched when I started really using the internet and YouTube, and to an extent, I don't even know if I'd be here today if it weren't for some of his influence. He was certainly the first video essayist I've ever watched, and that's the type of content that I make now. So who's to say that I'd even be making this content for you right now if it weren't for MatPat making his own? It's just little things like that that I'm thinking about while I think about the fact that he's retiring now. I hope his work can serve to inspire a lot of people in the future, even if he isn't as active anymore, because they deserve to have it. I think out of a lot of the YouTubers that pop up now, MatPat is somebody who I think is actually a pretty decent role model. Any YouTuber that's still been going strong since the early 2010s, I believe is probably a good person. You know, your Markipliers, your Jacksepticeye's, your MatPats, etc. And if you're gonna look up to anybody in the online space, I think these people are certainly the safest bet as opposed to a lot of newer content creators that kind of encourage that. I don't know, I just think MatPat has had a really good influence, and I think a lot of his actions are things that should be celebrated. He's raised a lot for charity, he's done a lot for community work, he's platformed a lot of smaller people, including myself. Just an all-around good Samaritan for this platform, and I am honored to have had him here. Who knows, maybe even someday he might return for a little bit, but I wouldn't count on it. For now, I think we should let the man rest, unless he really wants to return. But hey, that's just a theory. A game! No, I'm not doing it. Anyways, thank you for letting me ramble about a 34-year-old man that I have no connection to, but also a giant attachment to at the same time. Anyways, I'll see you guys once again tomorrow. This one's probably going up a bit early. I pre-recorded this one once this happened because I wanted to talk about this while it was fresh on my mind. That won't be common though, so if this one does go out a lot earlier than usual, then that's the exact reason as to why. But anyways, I will see you all around again. Anyways, hashtag thank you, Matt. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and I hope you all have a great day. I have been Dargz, and until next time, I'm gonna go nap or something.